So today in this video, we'll learn how to solve caselet data interpretation sets by converting information into a structured format and avoid repeated reading. So one of the first things that we can see is why caselet DI is considered difficult. Some of the times caselet data interpretation is considered difficult is because of lack of tables, as it most of the data has been given in a paragraph format. So an absence of table hinders data organization. Since there's no formal organized data present, you have to find the data out on your own. That becomes a little bit of a challenge, and that's what we are going to be focusing on today. Another thing is that there is an information overload that's present in most caselet DI data sets. There are some data most of the time which is not really relevant to the set, but it's been given just to confuse you guys. Also, too much information usually overwhelms students. And the last thing is that it's a confusing language, right? Confusing in the sense that most of the times, if you're able to properly interpret the data that's been given, it becomes the misunderstanding, and you might take a different approach to what the data wants you to take. So that could be a challenge as well. So as we've been doing, we'll be using the same four-step approach that we've been using till now. Well, the first thing would be to convert the data that has been given to us into a table form. So this is what I'm going to be teaching you today. One of the first things that I'll do, you need to convert all the data into a table form. Whatever data has been given, you need to read it first. Try to convert it into a table, which is going to make it into a formal, organized data that will be easy to get any answers from. You need to extract all the useful data. You need to also understand what data is not really that useful to your solutions, and you need to just keep that aside. Use short forms in the sense that you don't need to be using everything and writing everything down when you are making a table. Just try to use abbreviations, saves time. Like for total, just use T. For female, male, just use M and F. For departments, maybe you can just use det, right? Anything that's easier for you to understand. And the last thing is always to solve after structuring. So this is an example that I've taken. I've made this example on my own. This is based on your previous year questions. And the questions that I've taken also are the ones that have the type that has been most commonly asked in caselets. So let's start with just reading it. The data is talking about a company. Hasn't been giving a name. We can just say XYZ. It has three departments, all right? The three departments are sale, HR, and tech, all right? The total employees in the company, 300. Okay. So now it says that sales consists of 40% of the employees. Fine. HR is 20%. And the rest is in tech. So can we calculate tech, the percent of employees that are present in tech right now? Yes, we can. So that would just be 100 minus 40 plus 20. So that's 100 minus 60. So that's also 40%. So tech's 40%. Sales is consisting of 70% male. All right. So we can also deduce that it's 30% female. HR is 50% male. Okay. So that's 50% male, 50% female. Quite easy to deduce. And tech consists of, we've been given a ratio for male is to female, which is 3 is to 2. All right. And the question that being asked is total number of employees in tech. So we need to calculate that. We have the 40%, so easier to calculate. Total females in the company. So we need to calculate the females that are present in each department and then add that up. Ratio of male employees in sale to tech. So this is a ratio that has been talking about the males in sale to the male in tech. So we need to find the exact data for this and which department has the highest female. So we need to calculate all of this. So as we can see, we'll be creating a table format for this, and that will be the easiest way to go about. So let's start. The first thing that we did was 40%. And so the first thing that we did was that sales is 40%, HR is 20%. So tech, we found the remaining, that's 40%. You can see I've just made a preliminary pie chart. You don't need to make this. This is what should be coming in your head when you're starting to solve this question. And then after that, we can just calculate the whole thing and convert it to a table. Let's start doing it. So sales was 40%, right? And 40% of 300. So that's pretty much just 13 to 4, as 30 is 10%. And that's 120. So we have 120 in sales for the total. HR was 20%. Again, just you can do 30 into 2. That's 60. And for HR, it was actually very easy to calculate the male and female as it has been given that it's 50% female and 50% male. All we need to do is just divide by 2, and that's 30. So it's 30 male, 30 female. And tech, as we calculated previously, was also 40%. So we know that's just 120. And then for sales, we were given that 70% of sales is male. So 70% of 120. So that's just 12 into 7. And that's 84. And the rest would be female. So 120 minus 84, that's 36. And for tech, we had a ratio that was given to us, right? So tech, the ratio that was given was 3 is to 2. So we need to divide 120 by 5, comes out to 24, and just multiply that by 3 and 2. So for 2, we know it's 48. So females, 48. And for male, we calculate 24 into 3, and that's 72. So over here, 72. And as you can see, our table is now complete. We have all the data that we need to solve all the questions. So let's start solving the questions. Over here, I've given you the converted table. Another thing that you can do during when you start making the table is to find the total as well, right? Right. So for the total over here, total employees, we know that it's 300. For male, if we calculate, it's just 190. And for the female, it's 114. Yep. So we have the totals as well. If we need them, we'll come back and just look over here. And you can just take the table with you as I'm doing over here. So number of employees in tech, we calculated that. So tech total 120. Here, we solved that. Second question, total females in the company. So we did calculate the total in a previous slide. So we can just look at that. As we did, it's 114. That's the answer over here. The total would have been 114. We can calculate. And you can see it's actually an easy calculation as 30, 30, and 40. That just makes 100. And then you have 6 and 8 left. Together they make 14. So that's pretty easy to calculate. Ratio of male employees in sales to tech. So what we have to do, look at the male employees and then look at sales and tech. So that's just 84 is to 72. We can see that it's dividing by 12. So if we divide it by 12, it'll just become, and that's your answer. And the last question, which department has the highest females? Now, since we do have the table, pretty easy, we can just look at the table and we know that tech has the highest number of females. So as you can see, we are done with the data, we are done with the set, and after making the table, it was very easy. It took us maybe like 2 to 3 minutes. So you can see that in a caselet, one of the most important things to do is to make the table. And yeah, if you look at the key learnings as well for today, you'll see that the most important thing to do is to convert the data present into table. You need to organize information. It gives you clarity. It gives you an easier approach. You need to extract all the useful data that has been given and focus on all the relevant details. And you get the relevant details from looking at the questions. So once we looked at the questions, we knew that we needed the totals as well. So even though I hadn't made that into the table, I calculated the total along with the table, and that helped us in some of the questions. And you do only solve after structuring the data. So you have to apply structured approach for accuracy, right? After we structured the data into a table format, it became very easy for us to calculate. And these are just some common mistakes that students make while while trying to solve caselet data interpretations. They try to solve while reading. Don't ever do this. Read the data that has been given first and then start solving. Make it into a table, start solving. Not making a table, always taking a structured and formal approach will help you a lot. Lacks organization and clarity. If you don't make a table, you'll be going back and forth continuously. You won't have an exact answer to any of your questions. And that would actually lead to rereading again and again, which would waste a lot of time and create frustration during the exam. So, yeah, this is us being done for today. As you can see, once we structured the data, placelet data interpretation becomes one of the easiest types of data interpretation during the exam, and it'll be pretty easy for you to solve after just doing these simple steps. Thank you and have a nice day.